things have been, oh, ooh, the way that things have been, oh, ooh, look at me. Hello guys, so in our previous video we have installed the HySecure latest version GA release, that is Accops HySecure 5.2.00. So now we have already installed the Accops HySecure. Now we are going to configure it for the first time. What you have to enter is the username password, which is already shared above. Console admin console. Once you are entered to the shell network, then you have to reconfigure the Ethernet device, that is Ethernet 0. So you again have to select 1. Now you have to select as an Ethernet 0, you have to enter 0 here. You have to configure manually IP address or the DHCP. Let's go for an DHCP. Yes. So this is what we have got, the IP address from the DHCP. Now let's make this IP address an static IP address. So this is 192.168.138. Subnet is 24, and the IP address is 192.168.8.2. This is the gateway. Enter, and you have to press yes to save the configurations. So we have done the command line configuration. Now what everything configuration can be done on the browser itself. So you have to remember the IP address, that is 192.168.138. So we have to enter this IP address on the browser itself, and since we have not installed the public certificate, so it is going to be not secure as an site. So you nothing have to worry about. We can later on add the public certificate details from the management console itself. We have to click on the advanced and click on the proceed button. Now you will be able to see the configure HySecure now. Now you can click on the configure now. You will not be able to click on accept until unless you scroll down this option here. You have to select on accept the terms and condition and click on the submit. Now you will be able to see the two versions. If you are installing it on a physical server or an Zen virtual machine, you have to select this option, and if you are installing it on the public cloud, you have to select this option. But since we are installing on the virtual machine, I'm click on the same option and click on the submit button. You can rename the host name if required, or else you can proceed for the default one. So we have configured the Active Directory yesterday. So remember the time and date is perfectly fine. So it is around 10:48. You can copy the same address over here and click on the submit button. So we have by default 5 concurrent licenses, and you can cross check the configuration and click on the continue. Now you have to configure the certificate for the first time. So we are not configuring the standalone. So if it is in a standalone, you have to assign the IP address, the virtual IP address as well, but we are considering standalone installation. As of now, we will not use the external CA certificate. We can add later on. As of now, we are just adding the default certificate. So the company name is, let's say, Accops. Country is India. Maharashtra, Mumbai 3650. accops.com. User ID is akshay.poddar. Click on submit. Oh, it will not accept the. Okay. So now it will generate in passphrase. You have to register the certificate against the passphrase. Then only you will be get into the management console. That is the additional layer of security what we have provided to access the management console of the Accops HySecure server. So this is the passphrase. Now you have to open the HySecure client, and it will ask for let's say the IP address. You have to enter the 192.168.8.138. Then you have to select this option, login with the digital certificate, and enroll the SSL client, SSL certificate. Enter the password which you can remember. So once password not match, Accops at the rate 123, Accops at the rate 123. So click on certificate. Now you will be able to see a certificate named as an Akshay Poddar already, like live users, registered users, active users. Okay. So now what are the new things which we have introduced in the latest console or latest version of the new release version? And so what are the new things that we have incorporated is the new dashboard. As you can see here, we have incorporated the number of registered device and the registered users within the new dashboard. And if you scroll down, you will be able to see the number of concurrent users and the license details from the last 30 days from the same management console itself, right? uh, so you can see here, administrator can get the information about the maximum concurrent user of three different time frames. So the second thing is the enhance UI control and the enhancement. So you can go to the access control list, uh, and you can create an application access, device ID, endpoint protection based access control list, or a notification and account lockout. So let's say the users is not logged in from last 30 days, the account will be locked, and the notification will be sent to the email ID which is registered in the SMTP server. So also while publishing it to the native user, let's say I'm assigning and creating an access control list, and I'm selecting the native users, and you want to publish it for the users or the group. Now while selecting the users, it will ask for the high security user or the low security user. Low security user is nothing but a normal users, right? And also if you're, let's say if you're selecting the groups, it will give you a high security group or the low security group, right? And you can select the application list which I'm going to publish as an high works as an application and desktop virtualization. I'm going to incorporate it, which I'm going to showcase it to you how to create the access control list during that time as well. Additional features what we have introduced is uh, account lockout policy, which I have already discussed. I can have an account lockout policy from the same notification. You can select the account control name. It can be any name, ACL lockout, and you can select the domain, which is my default domain. This domain is nothing but you can have a multiple AD or multiple LDAP configuration. Now select the authorization server is can be AD or a native domain or an LDAP, and assigning type can be a users and a users type. Let's say if the users logged in on 1st of January, okay, and after let's say 60 days, if the user is not logged in, the account will be logged out. That simple it is. Because there are many of the organization, they want these features because enabled the vendor access. Now let's say if the vendor is not logging into the last 60 days, and maybe he is not no more within the organization, so the account will be disabled automatically. Password policy, yes, we have incorporated the password policy. That means the default password length will be around 6 digit, and the password should not carry the dictionary, the password which is already there in the dictionary and all those things. Geofencing, yes. So this is what I like this feature very much. And in the endpoint protection in the host scan policy, you will be able to see the geofencing, the geolocation based access. Let's say I am from Bombay, and the users are trying to log in from China, and you want to disable the users access other than India. That is very much possible. Or let's say you want to disable the location access from Nagpur or Ahmedabad. The users can only log in from Bombay region or Pune region. That is also very much possible. So you have to add the geolocation policy, and you have to select allow or deny. Let's say you have to block for China, you can select and deny policy, or you have to allow only for Bombay region. Select the India, select the Maharashtra, and the city is Mumbai. Submit. So this is how you can create a geo based policy access as well. Another thing that what we have introduced is uh, antivirus based pre-check is also was there in the previous as well. Now we have introduced WAN IP based access. Let's say you are in an office with an WAN IP. mm, okay, you are in an office which has an WAN IP 202.202. So if a user who is trying to access it other than this WAN IP, he will not be allowed to log in. Or we can have a comma separated value, or so we can also define the range. If you have an WAN IP range within your office, so the users who are in this WAN IP will only be allowed to access this particular application. So we can have a intelligence that if the user is not part of this WAN IP address, he will not be allowed to log in. Let's say out of 10 application, he will be not allowed to log into 5 application, which are the business critical application, and the users will only be allowed to log in during when the users is in office only. So out of 10 application, user 5 application is very critical to the business, and user will not be allowed to log in outside. Another 5 application is less critical application, and we can allow the users to log in from outside as well, like HRMS website. That is one of the example. But SAP application and the ERP application, he will only be allowed to log in when the users is in office, right? That is one of the use case I can see here. Another the policy is domain based access. Let's say your machine is in domain accops.local, then only users will be allowed to log in. Okay, if the and we also support the multi-domain architecture. Add domain policy, domain allow, and you can define multiple domains if you have your organization is in multiple domains, right? So this is one of the new thing that we have incorporated. Okay, so we have updated the logo. Okay, new HySecure client. Yeah, so this is I like this front page very much. So you're having the new UI portal, and it is much faster compared to the previous portal. Trust me. Application access logs. Okay, so these are some of the new cases which we have incorporated in the latest version of the HySecure. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to We can do the customization. We can add the logo of the organization whenever you are doing the POC or something. Just recommended to add the logo so that this logo will be changed to the organization logo, right? We can have a SMTP server or SMS gateway for the POC which need to be incorporated, right? We can add the SMTP details here. In the global setting, for the best practices, it is recommended to enable the connection keep alive as an on. Okay, in the password policy, this is what we were discussing about the new feature which has been incorporated for the native users only, not for the AD users. Okay, and in the highlight, we have introduced highlight basic version and the highlight pro version, which enables the full screen option and other things, right? Using the highlight, which is a browser based option, user can access any application, anything from the browser itself. Let's say this is my browser 192.168 and 10.138. So this is my browser, and you can see that I have the latest view and console. The users can download the client from here itself. I can do the network diagnostics test to test the speed. You can see how fast my network is since I'm connected to locally, obviously. Okay, this is my console. Now we have to integrate the Accops HyWorks within the HySecure, right? And these are the enable clipboard. If you have to enable or disable the clipboard, enable or disable the printing, you just have to uncheck this option. Or it can be bidirectional or a unidirectional upload or download, which can be enabled or disabled on the browser itself. Okay, so we can enable all this further configuration like enable desktop background, font smoothing, desktop composition, etc., etc. Right. So we have just enabled it to make it more faster and more robust in terms of the performance. Now, okay, now we are going to add the application, which is my Accops HyWorks controller primary, which is my Accops HyWorks, and whose IP address is 192.168.8.129, right? And sorry, so let's click on the submit as of now. We have to create the application group, and we are going to add the application HyWorks and shared hosted desktop to this application group so that my both the application type can access the. Now let me just modify it and add this application to this application group, submit, and click on submit again. Now create one more application, which is my Accops HyWorks application server, which is nothing but an desktop, or you can call it as an BDI. And here you have to enter the 192.168.8.129. You can do the test connection if you would like to, but since I'm in a LAN, I would definitely know that it is going to ping to my server, but it is recommended to do the testing. Now since both these applications are added to this application group, right, you can see the my media and HyWorks are added to this application group. Now I'm going to create an access control list. Okay, and we are also going to add the authentication server as an AD. My AD is AD, and I have the active directory on the same machine, that is 129. And now this is important, this is very important. Now cn equal to administrator users and accops.local, right? So okay, and this is the, and base dn will be dc equal to accops.local. Okay, and I'm gonna submit it. Now what we have to do is we have to do the authentication domain configuration. By default, we there is a native authentication server. We are going to change it to active directory, and if you want both to work, you can add the primary as an active directory and secondary as a native, and you can submit. Click on submit, and then you can, okay, AD has been added. This has been configured. Now you have to go to the access control list and create an access control list for application. select the default domain, select the Active Directory or the native. Let's go for an Active Directory. Now select the users or the group, and I think since the machine is in powered off state, it is not going to detect the Active Directory. Let me just come back once I once I power on the virtual machine. Okay, so you can see here that if you select the all groups, it will all the users who can access the application group. Okay, and if you select the selected groups, you will be able to see all the groups of the Active Directory. So here I'm going to select the domain admins or the domain users, domain computers, Hyper-V, RDS, RDS. Okay, so let's go for all the users for the testing purpose, and you can also apply the filters based on the time based access. Let's say for the vendors you want to enable the time based access between 9 to 12. You can very much you can very well do it. You can enable it from the access control filters validity time. Okay, and you can enable it. So let's publish it. Okay, now before you actually test it, you have to go to the HySecure gateway state, and by default for the first time it is in the configuration state. You have to make it in the running stage. So now let's try to log in. So we have created yesterday, or we have created on the HiWorks as an Akshay, and password. Oh, login failed. It's demo. Okay, so I'm able to access the application and the desktop. Now if I click on the desktop or any of the application, it actually opened on the browser itself. I don't have to install any client on the end user machine. But to have a more security and the endpoint security check and the geofencing and antivirus pre-checks and the domain pre-checks, you have to install the client on the local machine and open the HySecure console in the hybrid mode instead of an highlight mode. Hybrid mode is nothing but a browser-based access, but in the backend it uses a client, so you will be able to access all this. Right now there is no full screen option and all those things. Now in the HySecure and the highlight configuration, okay, so it is logged out. Select the HySecure certificate, then login. Now in the highlight configuration, you can select the highlight pro version to enable the, let's log out from here and log out from here as well. Now if you re-log in with the same username password, you will be able to see some more features on the browser itself. You can see it's an evaluation version, and you will be able to make it as a full screen. You can log out from here itself. You can do the copy paste from here. Now we have a special uh, client for the printing. Let's say you want to print, so we have an Accops highlight printer here. let which will redirect whatever you type. Okay, it will do the printing. Or we even hybrid PDF printer. So it will redirect the whatever you are typing, it will redirect to the PDF of the local machine using our Accops highlight printer. Similarly, you can access the any application from the browser itself. So let's go back and change back to the highlight pro. Submit, and let's close this. Let's close this. Log out from here. and click on login. Re-log in with the same username and password. Now let's access the application. Or a notepad. So this two application is not going to open on the different browser. It is going to open and merge into the single browser. Right? So you can see the same application on the same screen. Thank you guys.